Aloha Kako, and welcome back to Just&True. This will probably be my last video of the day. I made a couple short 5-minute videos, and I think I'm feeling pretty good about these. Anyway, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about the I.N.F. Treaty, the Intercontinental Nuclear Forces Treaty that was signed in 1987 between Reagan and Gorbachev. Since then, and a lot of people are freaking out about this, and they should be. They absolutely should be. But since then, we have been one-upping each other with trying to get as close as we can to the details of the treaty, which is nothing between, I think it's like 1,500 to 5,500, but it's a certain amount of distance. What it is it limits the distance of land-launched nuclear-capable warheads and missiles. So we've always tried to get as close to these details, these regulations, without breaking them. Now, the news broke lately, and it's that the United States is going to be backing out of it, and a lot of people are pissed. On my channel, you'll see me speak out about the United States quite often. It doesn't mean that I don't like our country. It just means that I don't like the people governing it. I don't like the way that we are so subjected to their will and whim, and we have no power in saying anything. But in this one case, I totally agree with what's happening here. Russia has been developing and has developed nuclear capabilities that are far superior than what these regulations entail and what these regulations limit us to. They have multiple designated target nuclear tip launch capabilities. They have hypersonic capabilities that go past any kind of defense or missile shield or THAAD system, or even S-27 or 700 or 300 systems. They have nuclear capabilities that break this treaty anyway, so the United States should dissolve the treaty and step out of it. Now, I'm not saying that this is a good situation for anybody. Now, the reason we got in this position is because we developed these long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles back in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was the peak of the Cold War, and we were pointing so many missiles at each other that could hit each other that we said, we got to back off, we can't just keep building these missiles, and we just cut massive amounts. We just disabled tons and tons of nuclear warheads. And since then, again, Russia has been developing huge amounts of nuclear capabilities, and we have not been, or at least haven't heard, of our nuclear capabilities. So we are backing out of it. And the other kind of loophole with this is it doesn't limit what China can develop, or what Iran can develop, or what any other countries can develop. It just limits what the United States can defend itself with. Now, in my opinion, the B-2 bomber is it's an apex predator. I mean, it'll drop anything anywhere in the world in a moment's notice, and it's not going to be seen or caught. So that's huge. I mean, I understand that, but the regulations were for land-launched, not airstrikes. So this is huge because the I.N.F. Treaty wasn't the only thing keeping nuclear war at bay, but it was a huge block to stop us from building and massing up huge arsenals of nuclear warheads. When you have that amount of weapons around, it kind of just triggers aggression anyway. People tend to stockpile more of it, and we might see a Cold War II happen, and I hope it's cold. But the I.N.F. Treaty is something that has been violated on both sides for many years. We should not be in the I.N.F. Treaty. I think we should be in a much more stringent, strict, and regulated treaty with more of a countdown to zero philosophy of completely ridding ourselves of these mutually assured mankind destruction weapons. We need to completely get rid of it. Conventional warfare is aggressive and destructive enough. We don't need the capabilities of completely decimating each other. A huge other thing is I was watching a video this morning, and I realized that for the first time that if you're looking at it on a faith-based, the two largest Christian nations in the world is Russia and the United States. I couldn't even imagine from a faith standpoint what would happen if those two countries decimated each other, or even if one decimated the other. You would have a huge ramification on the world's religion and the world's power struggle and the power supply. So if this is just what is being played out on this theater that we're on, this world theater, that we are supposed to destroy each other, then I can only start to imagine what the world would look like with only a Eastern influence throughout Europe, a takeover of Europe, and eventually either Russia or the United States. So that's huge. It's something to think about. But the I.N.F. treaty being dissolved by the United States because there are specific weapons that Russia has developed that break it is something that's happening right now. So anyway, mahalo nui loa, ahui ho, and again, write somebody about just destroying all nukes. We don't need them. We have so many other great weapons to destroy each other with. We don't need a nuke. Ahui ho, until next time.